My name is Trevor Brindle. I've been with Modus for about 2 years, and officially my title is UI engineer, but most of what I end up doing is not the same thing a lot of the people that have that title do. I find more often than not, I kind of slide into the same role each time I go to a different company, and it ends up being very process and build oriented. It seems to be a position that every company needs, but never realizes they need it until it's too late. So they either completely ignore the problem, or someone from the team just jumps in and fixes it, and that more often than not is apparently me.
So you're a fix-it man.
Apparently, yeah.
How do you like that?
Well, it's nice to see something that I feel I'm good at, and other people will corroborate that, like, dude, this is awesome. To me, in software engineering, a lot of it is around impact. So, when I make a feature or fix a bug or whatever, there is a certain amount of impact to that. But when I change a process that helps 40 other UI engineers do their job better, I feel like the impact is so much greater. Or you change a process that creates a different artifact that we're shipping to the customer, and that artifact is changed by X amount or X percentage in size or speed or whatever, and that's scaled across a huge number of people. I feel like that has a lot of impact. So consider a Docker container doing a simple one-line change in a build process, removing a whole bunch of extra files, cut the size in half, and so that obviously that helps with a lot of people, but we have customers all over the world, and some with really not great connection speed. So you consider the difference in download time if you're downloading something at 50K a second between an 800 megabyte image and a 300 megabyte image. That's huge. Mm-hmm. And it's one line. But it's not the type of thing that anyone would mostly decide to go and look at. It's not something that is immediately on someone's radar, especially like product managers. Right. It's not something that they think about most of the time.
Well, the concept of developer experience is something that is evolving, right? It seems like the past 2 years, 3 years, advocates like yourself continue to focus on that, because it's not just about being productive, it's also limiting waste or reducing waste.
Absolutely.
Like at some point, I think we were talking about large build times, right? 8-9 minutes, which reduces productivity. And at some point, when you actually have to wait for something like that, the thought train that you have, the momentum that you have in your head could likely get derailed, because you're going to want to do something else like browse Reddit, and boop, okay, what was I doing there?
Right. Yeah. Or there's really only so many times you can get up and make coffee in a day. So
that's fair. Yeah.
But a lot of it's not even just developer experience. So that's obvious, and there is a developer experience component to it. But I feel like there's kind of an umbrella term that maybe we're missing, where it's developer experience, but it directly impacts the customer and the rest of the process as well. Going back to that Docker image thing, yes, that is a huge developer experience thing when you're downloading 100 different Docker images a day of the same thing, testing it or whatever, and that saves a lot of time. But it also directly impacts the customer as well. And I feel like there's a lot of that. Changing things for the development process will directly impact the customer in ways that they maybe not would have expected.
Yeah, that makes sense. Impact seems to be somewhat a word that you keep using, so that tells me that you strive for something more meaningful than just slinging code. Right. Which I think that's significant. I wanted to dive into that.
The Japanese have a term for it, ikigai. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. It's one of the words that you learn by reading, right? And it really strikes me as a Venn diagram of a whole bunch of different circles. And one is and what it comes down to is kind of like your reason for living, your meaning, right? And one of it is like your own impression of something, like how you feel when you do something, your enjoyment of an activity, and then one is other people's impression of it and what they get out of it, and it's kind of like that intersection of everything. Are you having a positive effect on the world? And that intersection in the middle is where everyone really feels like they strive to be. And I feel like by doing a lot of this type of thing, I'm getting more towards the center of that Venn diagram.
Oh, that makes sense. I know a lot of folks get into technology because they either enjoy the learning process, that's me, enjoy the puzzle solving, that's me. Impact is not actually always on my mind, though efficiency is, so I guess that's kind of around the realm of impact.
Well, a lot of what I do is focused around efficiency. You know, a lot of times with developers, because we're so privileged to have such fast machines to do all this stuff, we forget about all this low-level stuff that, 10 years ago would have been a huge problem, and now we just ignore it. Oh, that image is 2 gigabytes, whatever. That would have been a huge problem 10 or 15 years ago, and would have been a showstopper. Now we just ignore it, but it's still a problem in a lot of parts of the world or in certain contexts.